Hi, it's Denise Donaldson with Safe Ride News Publications. Today I want to go over installing a car seat using a belt shortening clip. Now this is a technique that is extremely rare. You're probably never going to see this situation come up, but when you do, you want to know how to do this technique correctly so that it can be safely used to hold a car seat in cars that need it. In fact, it's so rare that I have to do it on this demonstrator seat because I don't have access to a car that has this situation. So what you need to see is a seat belt that has a sewn-on latch plate, and it might be a lap-only belt or it might be a lap shoulder belt, but the latch plate is sewn on, and the retractor that's on the lap portion of it is an ELR retractor, so an emergency locking retractor. So what that means is that once I pulled it out of the dead zone, it can go back and forth, it's not locking. But even if I pull it all the way out, it's not switching to ALR mode, to locking mode. It's still not going to lock unless there's a crash. And we can't have that for car seat installation. We need to have it be tight all the time on the car seat installation. So we're going to need to do something with this to make this one work. And so the technique that is used for this, and importantly, your owner's manual for the car should mention this, as well as whether or not this is okay in the car seat owner's manual. So always be checking those important resources. When you do have to do this, when you have a situation where you can't find another seat in the car or a different kind of belt, and you really have to do this, then you want to make sure you have the right technique and have the right tools. And the right tool is a belt shortening clip. Whenever I do this, which is, again, super duper rare and haven't done it for years, but when I do, I always want to pull it straight from the bag, so I'm sure I'm really working with a belt shortening clip. So this one came from Ford. They're going to get it from a car manufacturer through their dealer. And just for the record, the instructions that are in the Ford kit are for actually using this as a locking clip, not a belt shortener. So you're not going to want to follow these instructions for this technique. You're instead going to want to do what I'm going to be doing. But before I move forward, I do want to point out that this thing does look a lot like a locking clip, but you can see that they are different in appearance because this is smaller and it's not as strong. So you never want to use this, a locking clip, to do what a belt shortener is expected to do, because we've got to really be a big and strong clip to make that work. Because if you're expected to use a belt like this to hold a car seat in, what we're going to do is put it through the belt path, and we're going to want to see the belt webbing be short enough to hold this tight all the time. Well, right now it's not going to be held. So what we're basically going to do to belt shorten is literally shorten the belt. We're going to take all the webbing out of the spool here, and we're going to want to lop off a big chunk of the webbing so that that extra slack is gone, and only the amount we need from here to here is going to be in the system, and that's where the belt shortener is going to hold it in this position. Okay, so to make that work, we're going to have it buckled up and hold it so that most of the slack is removed, and importantly, all the webbing is out of the spool. So I've come all the way to the end of the spool. Okay, now when I unbuckle the belt, I'm going to apply the clip to the lopped off piece of webbing to shorten it. So I'm going to put this on by applying the 4 fingers, just kind of like what you do with a locking clip. Okay. But it's not going to hold tightly in a crash just doing it this way, even though you see all the 4 fingers here. You have to do a finalizing locking step, which is to take the top loop, part of the loop, fold it back over, and then feed that into the 2 fingers here. So you see your belt shortening clip that's exposed here now only kind of makes a C shape. Okay, now that is a tight locking mechanism that's going to hold this belt webbing locked off in case there's a crash. So now I'm going to go back to do the installation. We have all the webbing out of the spool. We have the clip applied so that this locked off webbing will stay out of the system. And we have the belt buckled here so that it's nice and taut. When I test it at the belt path, it doesn't move more than an inch side to side or forward and back. And so frequently there's some trial and error, and trust me, even when I do this, I have to practice a few times. So if I found that that needs to be tighter, then I have to undo it, put a little more of the webbing into this lopped off part, and try again, okay? In case you're not sure where to get this piece of equipment, in the latch manual, on the end of chapter 1, these are the 3 manufacturers that still make them, or have them, I should say. They're probably not making them now, but they have these part numbers. So you can ask at these dealerships if they can source those part numbers for you. And if you're actually looking at Ford, under Appendix B for Ford, this is the bullet section. Down here in the bottom corner is belt shortening clip. And Ford has these 2 third-party approved parts dealers, and that's where you go to get a belt shortening clip, okay? And they are very inexpensive. You do have to pay for some shipping, but you want to make sure you're getting the right thing, okay? So anyway, thank you for listening, and if you have any questions, please contact us at saferidenews.com. Thanks.